In order to receive FDA approval to launch his peculiar research project, Dr. Richard Herman proposed a strict protocol, but that protocol excluded participants like Bill Dotson, who showed incredible potential.
Motivation, intelligence, understood the problem, gung-ho. He's an athlete. That's what I like too, because of the energy expenditure that we have to have here.
Dr. Herman was convinced that Bill was the ideal candidate for his study and opted to modify his conservative criteria so he could participate. But the final decision would be up to the FDA.
The sitting and waiting for the FDA to make the approval was terrible. And then, oh my goodness, when I was finally told, I was, it was ecstatic.
Bill would finally have his chance to see if medical research and human determination could help a paralyzed man walk.
I believe my attitude toward life and my drive is one thing that attracted me to them.
For the next year of his life, Bill Dotson would embark on a medical odyssey that might ultimately provide hope for anyone living with a spinal cord injury. He would be subjected to some of the toughest workouts of his life while he struggled to increase his muscle strength and learn to take steps. Though he had strong upper body strength, the severity of his injury had left his legs much weaker than Ken Paulson's, the first person to participate in the study.
Seeing Ken and seeing the gains that he had made, I hope I reach those goals. My type of injury and the amount of return I have has created a few more challenges for Dr. Herman, because he did make a comment. He said, Bill, if we can make this work for you, it's going to open up the avenue for us to help many more people than we thought we would be able to initially.
I'm having an occasional spasm in my right leg. Left's fine.
It is critical that he teaches his body to walk again by reorienting the nerve pathways to his legs before he will be considered a candidate for the spinal cord stimulator.
Myself, I feel like that's when I produce my best results, is when I'm challenged.
Bill is only the second human to be considered for this surgery. The fact that he is older and more seriously injured than Ken Paulson makes the data gathered during his preparation for surgery critical. At the Biocomputation Locomotion Laboratory at Arizona State University, Dr. Hipping Hayes' expertise comes into play.
We collect information from the muscles themselves, and when a muscle is contracted, it actually puts off a voltage like a battery. And we can sense that voltage by electrodes being placed over the muscle, and then it's amplified and stored on a computer.
In intense workout sessions with Bill wired like a bionic man, the data gathered in the computer gives the research team evidence to document how the muscles, joints, and walking ability are improving with therapy. Over the course of the next 6 months, the two research facilities work together in an attempt to ready Bill for the surgery that might change his life. During this time, Bill experiences both triumph and failure.
It's been like a roller coaster ride. It's like I would have 2 or 3 days where it was just awesome. Everything just clicked. And all of a sudden, for some unknown reason, nothing went to work.
But each time Bill would get discouraged, he only had to look to the man who had come before him for inspiration. Ken Paulson had gone through these same frustrations and struggles, always working toward the ultimate reward: the surgical implantation of the electrical spinal stimulators that might hold the key to helping him walk again.
The ability to keep going is what was probably the hardest thing, was day in and day out, going to the research lab and being strung up in the harness.
He's worked very hard. He has worked very, very hard.
Like Bill, Ken is grateful for being given this chance, but throughout the training, he's always lived with the possibility that his hard work might not pay off in the end.
I didn't know I was going to get the implant. It was a year of training and still not knowing if I would meet the requirements to get it.
But Ken's hopes and efforts would not be in vain. In October of 2000, after a year of preparation, Using partial weight-bearing training, it was determined that he was ready for the risky surgical procedure to implant the spinal stimulator.
The real risk is with the surgery and the surgical device, the electrical device.
I was anxious because I wanted to get it done and get it over with. I wasn't scared to do it.
What is about to happen next could change Ken's life forever and mark a new beginning for thousands of other paraplegics. It all rests in Dr. Herbert's hands and the ability of this small device to help work what many would describe as a miracle.
Interventional pain specialist Dr. David Herbert would perform the surgery at Good Samaritan Hospital. He was chosen as the surgeon because of his expertise in surgically implanting similar systems for pain control. The procedure involves using catheters to feed two flexible wire strands directly into the spinal canal on the back side of the spinal cord. Each strand contains 4 contact areas that are precisely positioned over an area of the spine called the enlarged lower lumbar region. Wires from the leads are led under the skin and attached to a receiver implanted just below the skin of Ken's abdomen. Once the system is implanted, a round flexible antenna can be taped to the surface of the skin over the receiver. An external transmitter sends signals to the receiver and onto the electrodes. The messages from the circuits in the spinal cord are amplified and sent to the legs, theoretically restoring Ken's ability to walk. 2.5 hours later, the surgery was completed with no complications. Ken was ready for the next phase of the trial and a chance to make medical history.
It was astounding how he was put back on the partial weight bearing to get him back to a trained mode, and he just went zooming from there.
Ken trained on the treadmill with the spinal stimulators activated, but with his body still supported by a harness. After 2 months, he was ready for the moment he'd been waiting for since he was told he would never walk again. On December 23rd of 2000, Ken was ready to make medical history. He would attempt his first walk with the spinal stimulation activated. Could medical science give him back what he lost in that tragic accident nearly 4 years ago? The world was about to find out.
That was Dr. Herman's Christmas present to me, and I couldn't believe how light my legs felt, and the effort that I had to put into walking was very minimal.
Thanks to bioengineering and medical research, a man who was told he would never walk again defies the odds.
That was just a hope. That was my big hope that this works.
Ken's first walk with the spinal stimulator activated was less than 15 feet. A short distance, but an incredible step towards independence for a person who has lived with a disability. Ken's accomplishments were an inspiration to anyone with a spinal cord injury, but especially to Bill Dotson, the man who dreams of following in his footsteps.
Well, after seeing, what Ken Polson has achieved, and see how far he had come beyond even their wildest hopes, and I thought, not even now, I said, man, I hope I reach those goals.
Ken Paulson has shown that the dream of a paralyzed man walking can be a reality. Now that dream is within Bill Dotson's grasp. But can he meet the criteria to be eligible for surgery? And even if he does, will the severity of his injury allow him to duplicate Ken's remarkable progress?